What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here from Data Dash, and today is November 13th of 2023. Well, folks, I hope you all are having a fantastic day wherever you are, because in today's video, I gotta get serious here, guys, and dispel the FOMO in the air when it comes to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I want to spend some time to not only talk about Bitcoin, which is hanging around 37K at the moment, but also dive into the altcoin market. As you know, that's where we specialize, guys. We've been able to make some serious gains in the past in altcoin markets, spotting early stage trends, riding the broader wave of the cycle, and being able to capitalize on some major plays, locking in profits, and doing much better than simply just hodling in the market. That all being said, I want to spend some time to talk about the clear signs I'm seeing here that are signifying we're not ready for a broader move to the upside, and that what we're seeing, albeit may seem optimistic in the near term, doesn't have the steam to kick off a new cycle. Let's go ahead and spend some time to talk about it as we go through today's video. If you happen to like it, consider dropping a like. It's one of the greatest ways to support the channel. And let's go ahead and kick things off, guys. Now, I want to spend some time first to talk a little bit about Bitcoin here. Not too many trend changes here since when we last spoke on our last video on Friday. Price is roughly around the same range it was at. And while we're seeing this kind of slowdown in the trend here, I just want to emphasize really at the end of the day, for those who may be wondering if there are any kind of additional narratives or things that are getting people excited about Bitcoin, there's nothing else right now really other than the ETF. And this is again the big gray box, the big question mark we have, whether or not there's going to be enough inflows to really continue kicking off a further Bitcoin bull market. Now, if you guys want to answer that question, or if you want to get our perspective on that, we did a video back a few days ago, last week, when we talked about the expected inflow change with the halving event as well as the Bitcoin ETF coming into play. Those are really the two things that I could think about that people are excited about: the pre-program and halving event, which again, I do believe is not kind of programmed to price yet. It comes when the halving event comes. However, there can be some short-term buy-side anticipation here in the near term. The key point, though, is that a lot of that is really from the ETF. And again, I don't think we've got the inflows that are going to really sustain a full-scale bull market, especially as prices move higher and sell-side pressure will pick up to the market order side. I think that is going to prevent us from really making some serious gains on Bitcoin. Now, the second thing, though, I want to talk about that's more important, and I think you guys should really have your attention towards, because if you're looking to make life-changing returns in a crypto cycle, you've got to consider altcoins. You've got to have some kind of exposure there. And I understand there'll be some people who idealistically will tell you to stay away from it. At the end of the day, guys, if you're saying, oh, we have to follow the trend, we have to chase the market, we got to make those returns, then you should be open to this idea, even if you don't morally agree with it. Altcoins are a huge component of crypto markets. It's a $400 billion market cap at the moment, 415 to be more precise. And yes, it is technically trading at its highest point here in line with October 2022, or back here in August of 2022. And that's got a lot of people really excited to potentially start building long-term positions, especially if we analyze Total 3. Many people see this as a long-term accumulation channel that's starting to break out. Now, at the same time, while I'm definitely keeping an eye on this, I'm not ignoring the altcoin market, and I'm doing my due diligence on it because I don't want to miss that trend shift if it happens. We are not out of the woods just yet, guys. And I think there's some really worrying signs, some very simple due diligence, mind you, that so many people could be doing, but unfortunately they're playing arrogant to it. I'm not saying if you believe the market's bullish and stuff that you're taking an arrogant approach. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is there's a lot of various influencers, a lot of content creators, a lot of people out there in the crypto industry who will tell you it's all sunshine and rainbows and we're going back into a full swing bull market. I have no problem if people believe this is kind of like a relief rally or a short-term trend that you can ride and stuff. And for those of you who've made some great returns on altcoins, all the more to you. That's totally fine. But I do want to spend some time to really do some very simple analysis that should send off some red flags here about whether or not we really got a sustained potential for an uptrend. Now, I want you guys to take a step back here, because I know everyone comes from different periods of time in crypto. Some of you, this may be what you believe is your first cycle in crypto. Maybe you, for example, bought somewhere back here during the bear market of 2021 and 2022. Maybe you rode the last cycle from the kind of December 2018 or March 2020 lows and bought somewhere in between that uptrend. And maybe you've been in crypto since when I actually got back in. Interesting how the chart kind of ends here for Total 3. Back in 2017 during the summer. That's when we started our YouTube channel. We were in crypto a little bit before that in 2017 and a little bit of 2016. But generally speaking, we rode a couple of cycles here. And the longer you've been in crypto, you begin to understand here where how you can start to determine how cycles are playing out. And there are a few key things that we need. We've talked about it in our prior altcoin video, but I just want to recap it very quickly. We need fundamental narratives, right? The 2017 narrative was ICOs, the launch of ERC20 tokens and smart contracts. And while we didn't know specifically what they were going to bring, that was really the big narrative, and it was a huge technological shift for the crypto space. It completely circumvented just the existing use case of Bitcoin, which was to do Bob to Alice, sending transactions from one another on a digital, distributed, and decentralized ledger, right? So that was a huge transformative shift. In 2021, we had our narratives. We had DeFi. We had GameFi. We had NFTs making a reemergence and building out some massive ecosystems. You had a lot of layer ones and layer twos that helped with scalability and being able to fractionalize a lot of that order traffic for various transactions on the different networks. You had the launch of roll-up L2s. So you had a whole range of different technologies coming to the forefront. And while there's definitely still, I'm going to say this first and foremost, yes, there may be some building going on in the crypto space. There might still be some projects building. I'm really looking hard for those narratives, because if we don't have them, what you're buying into here is short-term baseless speculation. The same type of speculation, mind you, that has happened here for 4 weeks in a row between January of 2023 and the later part of the month, basically in the month of January here, which met with stagnation and pullback, and the same kind of move here that happened between July of 2022 to August of 2022, basically over a 5 to 6 week period. And what do you know? We could very well be, as we did both times, be repeating the same exact month-long mistake where we believe it's a new paradigm shift without the fundamentals. Let's go ahead and look at the big red flag here, guys. When I do my analysis here on the market, I like to find plays that are actually leading, because at the end of the day, those that are leading right now could very well be leading later on in the cycle here, those early movers here. And while a lot of people want to buy the most discounted opportunities, it may be that those plays never come back. Something that's down 99.5% doesn't mean it's a screaming buy. In fact, it actually probably means the opposite. It's a lagging play. We want to look at confidence in the market, because the plays that are starting to lead are likely going to be our market leaders, right? And those are the plays that have got likely the best returns for the cycle. People are confident about them. They're not even hesitating to pay a premium, hence the incredible returns that they've paid in such a short period of time. Well, let's go ahead and just take a look at some of these plays here, guys, because while I definitely can understand if there are some of them that excite you, like Oracle plays, like Chainlink, for example, as well. I've heard people mention Caspa, a couple different plays here that have attached, some degree of attention. Gala, which we recommended in one of our altcoin videos, or at least discussed. I want to go to the top here and really analyze which plays are carrying forward the market right now, which ones are expanding market capitalization for altcoins and bringing us back up to this kind of $450 billion range. Well, the first one here we have is Ordinals. Now, this is one of the few plays I'll go ahead on a limb and say I can understand people are a bit excited about. Ordinals, for those who aren't kind of in tap with this and are more focused on various other layer 1 or layer 2 ecosystems, Ordinals are a technology that have basically changed the way we can utilize Bitcoin as a network. You can think of them in the most simplest way possible as NFTs on Bitcoin. That's the biggest use case here of Ordinals right now. Now, this token here for Ordinals has essentially been one of the key protocol tokens that's launched for Ordinals. But generally speaking, Ordinals allow you to essentially, on the Bitcoin blockchain, store NFTs. And the really interesting thing about this is that it is an improvement on existing NFTs because of the fact that NFTs in the current day world require you to utilize IPFS or various systems to store the actual image, and there's a essential hash, right? This NFT, this unique identifier on the Ethereum blockchain that says you supposedly own this image. Whereas in the Bitcoin blockchain, you're actually programming in on-chain the data for that NFT. So you can have pixel art, all kinds of different things. But generally speaking here, I want to go ahead and just make clear, as you can probably just tell from the website, this is still a very early concept. I have many friends who the past year or so have been telling me about Ordinals. They're heavy developers in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Some were previous contributors to the Lightning Network. trust me, I'm tapped into a lot of people who are analyzing this. And while many of them are very optimistic and euphoric, I come back here to the middle and say, where are the really big killer applications here? Because if this is the user interface that people are interacting with, we've got a long way to go. And along with that, there doesn't seem to be a big marketplace developed around it. And I still am wondering about the kind of technological limitations around utilizing ordinals on Bitcoin. Are there any negatives versus utilizing, in this case, the NFT standards that are on the Ethereum protocol or other EVM compatible chains or chains like Solana as well? Are the benefits actually something that are going to spark a new cycle, right? Because I don't see even the base community effect of many of the NFT communities that we saw in the Ethereum ecosystem that we should be expecting in ordinals, right? Even if it's just PFPs or profile pictures. But even that, I'm going to tell you guys, my biggest concern here with this is that at the end of the day, I just don't see any really interesting use case in ordinals. That's my personal take. Everyone's got different opinions here. I'm not bashing on people building on it. Just letting you know, I have no reason to want to play with ordinals at the end of the day, right? I don't know of any type of business company out there that's utilizing them at the moment, and therefore it just feels separate to me. And not in the same way where DeFi was exciting. I had to use Uniswap in the last cycle. I definitely wanted to tap into using Compound and Aave for yield. I mean, there was just so many exciting applications that came out in the wave of DeFi in the last cycle. It was such a clear narrative. We were early to it in April of 2019, near the bottom of the Bitcoin bear market and the overall crypto bear market. We were excited about it when no one else was. And I gotta be honest, when I take a look, guys, I'm doing research on these plays, I just don't feel it. It feels like there's not much effort being put in. Outside of this, well, ordinals, as I said, are probably one of the best gems here, like out of all the ones that are leading. So I definitely am going to keep open to it as it develops. But take a look here at what's number 2, the FTX token, FTT. The flywheel token that FTX utilized in order to prop up the exchange and to be able to continue doing all kinds of nefarious activities. Well, after dumping over 90+% here, it is now spiked to its highest level here in multiple months. Now, definitely when I see something like this, first off, just to clarify, it's much further away from the $25 price tag before FTX collapsed. I do take notice on this. And I wondered when I saw this price action, what could have actually caused this? Well, it's not that the FTX bankruptcy process is making FTT look favorable. Not to mention, we not only don't know whether or not FTT is going to be useful in the exchange, I'm going to go ahead on a limb here and tell you guys probably not in any kind of real restructuring deal. But outside of that as well, the important thing here is that the FTX website is still not up. The bankruptcy proceeding is still going on. So what really led to the pop? Well, the only thing that led to it popping was Gary Gensler coming out and stating that FTX as an exchange might have a path forward to coming back online one day. Which, I'm going to let you guys know something. Gary Gensler has no right to tell FTX whether or not they have an ability to go back online or not, right? They may have some statute on stepping in and determining whether or not FTT is a breach of securities law, but they have no right to step in over an exchange going online. This is like a basic misunderstanding here, and unfortunately a misuse of headlines to drum up narratives so that people who, mind you, I can tell you by looking at this chart, someone's been accumulating big, someone with a lot of money, just slowly accumulating, not enough to drive the trend, and then the narrative comes along, the market ramps it up, and they distribute, they sell. They make a nice 2 or 3x off of their average entry, and no one bats an eye because everyone's completely naive to the fact that there's really no new narrative here. And they take the loss as the price goes down, as the whales dump. That's how this game is played, guys. Again, I would love to see FTX come back online, but I gotta tell you guys, I don't see people really trusting FTX after what happened. The brand damage is done. And along with that as well, this is just baseless speculation. This is the token that's leading the market, that is still ranked 51 on CoinMarketCap. Are you kidding me? If these are the kind of plays that are exciting the market right now, I ask not whether or not we have the ability to set a new all-time highs and really kick off a new bull market. I'm asking, how do we have the steam to get back to the prior altcoin all-time highs, let alone even halfway there from this point? Now, I understand that some people say, but hey, Nick, sure, there's, bland speculation out there, but there's also ThorChain and 0x Protocol, two very respectable DeFi protocols out there. Hey, that's right up my alley. I like DeFi, and I have nothing against ThorChain. I have nothing against 0x Protocol, but I got to be honest with you guys here. I don't think they deserve to be up 200% here in such a short period of time. Why do I say that? Well, take a look at 0x Protocol's website. If you take a look at their blog or their Twitter profile, you will find that they have not posted any updates since back in April of this year. There is not much activity going on in these protocols. And while I think 0x as a kind of legacy play in DeFi has definitely made its strides, it's helped contribute to the space. And 0x, I'm not saying is a completely dead project by any means. I've followed it over the last couple of years, and I don't see anything that's going to circumvent Uniswap. And even if they did have something, miraculously, right? There's always innovation in DEXs, right? There's things like DYDX, which is done phenomenally using Starkware and then moving over to Cosmos. There's a ton of really interesting plays or iterations and improvements. But I got to ask you guys, the question here is not just did you build a better DEX, right? And if you'll be able to really take over Uniswap, but the question is, what are you going to be trading on there? Where are the tokens? Where are the narratives? Where are the things that people are going to want to buy that are going to drive volumes and drive protocol revenue and drive some degree of fundamental value for these protocols, something that gets people excited? And I got to be honest with you guys, I don't know what that is going to be. And I've looked really hard for it here. I've looked across the market here. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about here, and this is the icing on the cake here, all right? Now, I know some of you out there who are big fans of Solana. Whether you were big fans of the last cycle or big fans now because it's moving, I want to go ahead and bring everyone back to square one here. Solana was a VC chain from the start. I remember when it was being promoted behind the scenes 2018, 2019. I will say it vocally now. It was a well-coordinated venture capital pump that people got into early, that people who were well-connected like Sam Bankman-Fried and various VCs got into early, and they rode the wave higher. And they propped up the narrative that everyone was using Solana. They had people in their community utilizing various nefarious tactics to boost TVL and DeFi-related activity on the protocol when it was practically, albeit with some real projects and some people working on it, an empty shell. It was an empty shell protocol, guys, and it still is. What I really don't like here is that people are drumming up Solana as if it's going to replace Ethereum. If you simply take a look at DeFi Llama and take a look at stablecoin liquidity, the green line here in our chart, or the amount of SOL being deposited in DeFi applications, you see that there's an active withdrawal of Solana tokens or Solana coins from DeFi protocols. You see that there is a flattening, no movement here since the steep decline from $6 billion in stablecoin liquidity down to 1.5. There's not even a real bump up here in the meantime, and Solana is actively being removed from DeFi protocols. This is just bullshit. And it gets me pissed. It really does, guys. It's not so much that I care about missing the move, right? As I've told you guys here lots of times, I'm not feeling any FOMO here in the market. I hope you can sense it from my tone. You can sense it here from our actions. Trust me, guys, if I was feeling FOMO, I'd be buying positions. I've got the liquidity to do it. The problem here is that the narrative is weak. And if you don't have some standards to your investing and where you deploy your capital, especially going into the macro environment we're in now, guys, I think a lot of people are going to be sadly mistaken here. This is not the time to say, oh, time out of the market is more risky, or, oh, dollar cost averaging just always works. Guys, I don't mind if you want to have some exposure here to altcoins. If you're coming here for my kind of core opinion here, I'm happy to give it to you guys though. And I respect if you don't want to follow exactly what I say. I wouldn't advise you go all in on what I say, but the numbers don't lie here, guys. This just looks terrible. There's little to no devs contributing to the Solana ecosystem. And this is our dark horse that's going to carry through and completely outpace the broader market like Ethereum did in prior cycles. Where are the narratives? What are people building here? It really gets a bit under my nerves here that people talk so confidently about this. And I understand some people say, oh, fundamentals don't matter, fundamentals don't matter. Yeah, fundamentals don't matter when you're doing a short-term pump. They do matter to an extent when it comes to a longer-term year-long plus or multi-year long bull market. And I'm really tired of people selling people empty shells. I want to see real projects being built in this space. I want to see real narratives being built on. I'm tired of the speculation. I got to be honest with you guys. It's not that I'm just tired of it, but outside of that as well, you got to be real careful buying into this range, because for the last year and a half, this has been the range where people get burnt. And I'd hate to see you guys get caught up in that. I know a lot of people are thinking about, oh, this is about to break out higher, but they don't think about what happens if this just rolls over and dies over the next few months. Many people aren't prepared for that. And we're one of the few channels here saying that. It may not feel very comfortable to have this opinion now, but I promise you guys that I stand in my convictions. And I will never lie to you guys. I'm open to hearing different voices. We had a great interview, for example, with my friend Tommy World Power, a fellow crypto YouTuber, who's more on the optimistic side of things. And trust me, I listen to these opinions, guys. I listen to other individuals. I'm not trying to be a brick wall here. But like, how in any way can you justify this? Like, how can... This is one of the leading plays here. And I could just go down the list: Terra Luna, Avalanche, Pancake Swap, right? Even fundamental plays like Chainlink, which I like. Chainlink has expanded across the crypto ecosystem. But the fundamental question is, what are the new use cases for oracles? Like, what new DeFi applications are out there? What new NFT applications are out there? What big companies are getting into the space? There's nothing. Like, nothing substantial. All we have is meme coins buying up old dead projects that were sold over 99% or whatever, and people are just propping it up and pumping them higher. And sure, there are some great plays here. I bet in this list of the top 100 coins. But it's not enough for me to go long, guys. It's not enough for me to go long. And I bring you guys back here again. We take a look across global markets. The NASDAQ here deviated below its relative support line during the trend back in the summer. This kind of wedge pattern deviated back above here. No serious consistent trend since the AI rally. We're just kind of going sideways here. The Russell 2000 looks like it's ready to break due to this descending line of support. Unless you're in the Magnificent Seven, which again, you have to hope that they're going to keep expanding after already doing quite well over this past year. We certainly can't be relying on the broader market here. It doesn't look like it. In China, more specifically, tracking what's going on in Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index has been trending down since December 2017, is still rolling lower here. So the China growth story is not going to help us globally. It's not going to keep goods and services incredibly cheap. The DAX, German index here, looks like a clear double top is playing out right now. We've been rolling down for 3 months here while we've got a little bit of a green bump here. This is a long-term ascending wedge, which is a bearish pattern. We need to be cautious of that. Japanese index here as well, still holding relatively flat. If you consider the mass devaluation of the Japanese yen during this period of time, I don't need to tell you that we are much lower than where we really appear right now. And of course, if we just take a look back at the fundamentals of liquidity, the United States Central Bank is still pulling back money from the balance sheet. The only thing here that I think this signals, and I think this is probably one of the most important charts you guys could look at as we're going to bring it back here to a close, this is the yield curve. All right, we keep coming back to this chart, and the thing that I think a lot of people are unfortunately going to misinterpret here, the yield curve is essentially re-inverting again. So it's essentially expanding. The payment for short-term treasury notes is yet again growing higher versus that of long-term treasury notes, which is again like twilight zone activity. It only happens every once in a while, and it's usually indicative of a coming recession. As you all know, if you've watched this channel for a while, we extended to some of the most absurd lengths, minus 1% here. So essentially short-term treasuries, or the US 2-year yield, is paying 1% more than the 10-year yield, right? That's not good. Now, essentially, now that we're reinverting here rather than uninverting, which is a sign of a recession, we've now started to pull back a little bit here. What this tells me is that, again, the market in the near term is showing the same activity it did back here throughout 2020 and 2023. It's kicking the can down the road. It's playing around. It's playing games here in the near term. without any new substantial foundation to kick off a new full-scale bull market. Eventually, this will uninvert here, guys. I don't know when that's going to be. It's already made great progress here, but it's still got a ways to go. Every single time the yield curve uninverts, it is an indicator of a widespread recession globally. And if you want to go long altcoins into that environment, if you think that a period of time where liquidity is contracting, interest rates are at their highest level in many cases in 20 years, and you want to go long FTT token, Solana, Luna, be my guest. I have no problem, guys, at the end of the day, if you want to have like some fractional exposure and it's money that you could afford, like once you buy those positions, you're like, yeah, this could go to 0 or it's going to go 5x from here. It's your call. It's your call. But I only say what I say here today with such fire and yes, a bit of emotion because of the clear fact here, the clear evidence that we have in this market, guys. And I can't sit here and tell you guys to just go rampantly speculate on altcoins here. Want a DCA, as we've said on this channel, it's totally fine. And the Dash report for months, we've had it on an indicator here that we believe that if you want to buy plays in the market, buy the defensive plays, but do so very cautiously and do it during capitulation, not when everyone is FOMOing in here to altcoins, right at the relative top for the last year and a half. Observe that prior price action, guys. Look at the long-term time frames, or you can very well be the victim of the same repetitive patterns that leave retail and even institutional traders on the negative end of the stick when it comes to whether or not you're going to make money or lose money. That's it for today's video, guys. Bit of a rant and a rave here, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And just know that I'm always going to stand here through bull and bear market, through optimistic times, periods of downturns, confusing times in the market, and give you guys my candid opinion. That's why you come here, and I'll always be doing that here on this channel. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. As always, if you like the video, consider dropping a like. It's one of the greatest ways you can support this content. And if you have a family member or friend who's going through the same emotions right now at the market, feel free to share the video with them. Take care, everyone. I'll see you all in the next video.